All right, let's move out to BJ Armstrong's crib. BJ, of course, played in the first three-peat with the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
BJ, I'm sure you watched Last Dance last night. You just heard my opening monologue. I blame Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf for ruining the greatest dynasty, perhaps in sports history, undermining Michael Jordan's passion. Does the Bulls front office, does their management deserve all the blame for the end of this dynasty?
Well, you know, the one thing I can say about Michael Jordan is nothing was going to deny him to achieving what he wanted to achieve. And that includes the Bulls front office, the league, or whomever. You know, the man just had an undeniable spirit about himself. It's easy to depict based on what we saw last night. But if anything, I will say this. Michael Jordan was going to do what was ever necessary. And certainly I can say without question, he was going to achieve and stop playing whenever he wanted to stop playing. And he did exactly what he wanted to do because he deserved that. And I think that he made that clear last night. And he was very evident about his passion and what he was going to bring to the game.
Exactly. I don't think there's any stopping Michael Jordan. He would have found a different setting, different situation, coupled with another great player, and they would have had optimal results. It's just, you just saw a determination that jumped off the screen that was second to none. With that ability, that was just special.
Are y'all both sitting here telling me that if Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf had treated Michael Jordan with the level of respect that his play deserved, that Michael Jordan wouldn't have continued to play after winning that sixth championship? BJ, you go first.
Yes. Well, there was something, you know, in knowing Michael Jordan, and I worked with Jerry Krause. So I knew both. I worked in the front office for the Bulls, and I knew Michael Jordan. There was something that you have to know a little bit about Michael. Michael said, was the glass half full or was the glass half empty? And it was Michael's father, you know, rest in peace, who said the following: if you want to get the best out of my son, just tell him what he can't do. So I know that Michael was not going to be denied. I don't care what was said, because no one was going to come on the floor and beat Michael Jordan. No one. And he was going to do what was ever necessary, and he was devoted to his sport. He was devoted to winning. He was devoted to the game. So whatever was going on, he was comfortable being uncomfortable in all of the drama, all of the things, all of the characters, because in the end, he was the lead character. He was the lead character. He knew it. We can say whatever we want to say. If you want to blame them, certainly. But you know what? No one beat Michael Jordan. No one. And until someone beat him on the court, then you know what? We can, you know, you can say a lot of different things, but the man was unstoppable. He was unstoppable. And I'll continue to say that, you know what? We can talk all we want to talk about those guys, but, you know, Michael Jordan did what he had to do.
And I have a slightly different way of looking at it, and I want you to put some respect on Jerry Krause's name when you start talking about it, Whitlock, because here's the thing about him. He's a necessary part of this. If you want to call it a necessary evil, so be it. But this chemistry, talking about player and executive, was so necessary for Michael Jordan. As you just mentioned, BJ, that his father knew his dynamic mentally, that, hey, you tell him he can't do something, he's going to be even more motivated to do it. That's one. So now you have a power structure of a good cop and bad cop out of Krause and Reinsdorf. And what happens? You get this dynamic where we're going to look at and polarize Krause for being the guy that we don't respect. But guess what? He played a necessary part in agitating Michael Jordan, not always giving in to Michael Jordan, not always kissing his feet at the altar of greatness. He had to be the one that had the thorn that was going to poke at Michael Jordan here and there. It seems like, because Reinsdorf gets off clean. Hey, Scotty, don't sign this contract. Hey, I try to tell everybody what to do right. Come on, you sign off on everything. So Krause was just an intermediary to get to the final destination, which was this relationship, good cop, bad cop, between those two execs.
I'm almost wondering if we watch two different broadcasts of Last Dance, because I'm not sure where y'all live in L.A. I don't know where. I got Spectrum. And so on Spectrum, I saw Michael Jordan on Spectrum Cable last night say, if there's no Phil Jackson, I don't want to play for anybody else. He made that crystal clear. These guys were so cheap, they didn't want to pay Phil Jackson. So petty, they didn't want to pay Phil Jackson after he won 5 championships. He got a one-year deal for $6 million, and they announced before the season began, this is his final season, and the greatest thing we've seen in the NBA and the greatest thing we've seen in sports since Babe Ruth says he don't want to play for nobody else but Phil Jackson. But somehow, I can't blame Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf for this kind of lunacy. If you can't convince me that if they had reached some kind of long-term deal with Phil Jackson, and if they hadn't reached some kind of deal to keep Scottie Pippen, the guy said this is his favorite coach, and Scottie Pippen is his favorite teammate. This is a perfect match. They left Michael no choice but to retire at 34. Did y'all see this?
Well, you could say that, but this is where you have to really look. Let's go back to Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen also had what wasn't said, and I don't want to be a spoiler here for the documentary moving forward, but Scottie Pippen had major back surgery early in his career. And I'm not talking like a little, anytime you have surgery, it's a major thing, but he had major back surgery. And I think that weighed heavily on his decision-making process. I don't know. I've never spoken to Scottie about it. But that had to weigh heavy because when you have major back surgery as a young player, that could potentially, end your career. The one thing that we saw with Michael Jordan, when Michael got injured there early in his career, it gives you a sense of urgency to really focus from the future to now. And, yes, Michael wanted to only play for Phil Jackson, but what he was really saying was the following. You know what? I'm playing in a system that I feel comfortable with, and I don't have time to start new relationships. I don't have time to find out what this guy can and can't do. I'm in the meat and potatoes of my career. I'm not in the middle of my career. I'm really at the end of my career. He's 34, 35. And he had to play with people right then, right there. And I think it was important for him to say, if we're not going to do this and make a commitment with this group, then I would much rather move forward and not play at all, because he didn't have time to be developing new relationship at that point in his career.
This conversation is just highlighting the cost of greatness. And the key word is not greatness, it's cost. The NBA was finally getting the money, and the money was coming in. And then if you start to do your projections, if you're an executive, you start to realize what it's going to cost to continue this greatness. You have Michael Jordan, who's only on a one-year deal at $33 million. You have Phil Jackson making $6 million on a one-year deal. You have Pippen's deal coming up where he was lowballed, so now he's going to get his money. Remember the context of only 9 players were making 8 figures. Now you're going to suggest to the Bulls to have 3 of those players and to add a coach to that. I think they made a calculation because of Scottie Pippen's injury concerns, because of the lack of commitment that they've gotten from Michael Jordan, including the retirement before. They were like, wait a minute, half of the top dollars in the NBA is all going to be on one team? I want a lot of things in life, but what usually keeps me from attaining them is the cost. And I think that's what they just went to, a simple mental calculation. We got 6 out of 8. And that's a great thing, but to do more and to roll the dice may be too costly.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that could be the end.
It's a dumb decision. And, BJ, I like your point about the back injury and Scottie Pippen, which is another reason they should have had some sympathy and reworked that deal for Scottie Pippen after 4 or 5 years. Get a man his money, what he earned. All right, we got to keep it moving. Thank you, BJ. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.